thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the program, and it is show number 119. And we almost had our music back. We almost got it. I've been messing with this for the last hour, and 5 o'clock Eastern time came, and we're still without music. But I do want to give a shout out to Clayton. He was helping me here. Clayton is an employee of the Voyagers Community School, who we're going to meet today. We are going to meet Karen Giuffre, who is the founding director of Voyagers Community School in New Jersey. What an amazing story. Started a school from scratch. I'm so excited to hear the story. They're in a historic building there in Jersey, and we're going to hear from Karen in just a moment. I'm really excited to have her on. It is show number 119, and it's a rainy day up here in the Northeast. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Bigelow Tea. I am a lemon ginger guy and certainly like the lemon ginger in the afternoon. I want to thank Bigelow for the selection of teas that they set. And as school leaders, it helps you calm, it helps your throat, it helps a lot of things. So cheers, everyone, and thanks to Bigelow. Next, I do want to share my book study is coming up here. That is through SAANYS, SAANYS. That's the School Administrators Association of New York State. You can register at SAANYS, and it's coming up here at the beginning of April. I'm really excited about it. The principles, surviving and thriving. And I've never done a book study before, right? So what a great way to share and learn with other educators. So that registration is going to be closing here in mid-March. So get registered at saanys.org. For the second week in a row, I have changed my opening segment. You know, if you're an educator, if you're anywhere really in the world, you've heard about this coronavirus and kind of the media frenzy and people getting nervous. And here in New York, the governor has dispatched the National Guard to the New Rochelle area, and it's just kind of got everyone's attention, right? So how do we as school leaders calm people? How do we reassure people that we're doing everything we can and doing the right thing to protect kids and making decisions that are good for everyone, right? What do you cancel? What are you still allowing? Things like that. So just a couple of tips. Number one, it's great to communicate. As school leaders, whether you're doing videos, the auto calls home, email blasts, but get that word out. You as the school leader, right? And big ones like this, a lot of times it's the superintendent or the founding director. We're going to ask Karen about this as well. But what can you do to increase communication? So certainly get the word out. Number two, taking action, right? You have to take action when there are things. Ensure parents what you are doing. In this case, many school districts, including mine here in Port Jervis, right? The cleaning of the school, the cleaning of the germs, the wiping down of the surfaces and the counters and the handles, all that kind of stuff are being done. Lastly, what is the guidance from the governing body, right? In this case, it's the Department of Health, right? What are they advising? And a lot of school districts, again, including Port Jervis, are exceeding that, going above what the recommendations are for the people. So these things happen in schools. They happen in our world, right? And I like to say managing major moments. They're big events. They need leadership. They need communication. And they need authenticity from school leaders. And this coronavirus hopefully is going to go away sometime soon, but it certainly has our attention. And it needs that attention. So as school leaders, let's continue to communicate to our parents, our community, our students, to reassure them of the good things that are happening and what you're doing in these type of situations. So that being said, let's meet Karen. Let me get this right here. Here we go. Let's meet Karen Giuffre. Here she comes. And here she is, the founding director of Voyagers Community School. Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Karen.
Love the opportunity. Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. And I want to give your guy Clayton there, worked with me for 45 minutes trying to get this sound. Fantastic. And Karen, before we hear the story of Voyagers, and I'm excited, you heard me just talk about managing major moments and communication in times of things like the coronavirus. Like, what are your thoughts on that in terms of leading in these type times?
Yeah. So I think, as you pointed out, the communication is essential. and honesty and authenticity is where it's at. So here we have been, we write through the platform Remind that most of us, many schools use. We also Seesaw, another with parents. We greet our children outside every morning before they walk into the building, and we say goodbye every evening. Our parents pull up. We don't have transportation, so parents are driving, and so we have an opportunity on that pull-up line to have a chat with them and talk to them about what's going on at school, answer some of their questions. But lately, we've been depending on video. So I've been recording short videos. Yesterday, I sat outside on my patio, very casual, and talked about what we're doing in the school in terms of the coronavirus, and also about a fundraiser that we have coming up. And that seems to really speak to them, about a minute and a half to 2 minutes tops, and you get a lot of impact. And it's real, feels real. And it is.
I think the videos are helpful. People like looking at short videos, so kudos to you for showing that leadership. And Karen, you're the founding director of Voyagers Community School. You know, tell us this journey. Who starts a school? Like, how did this happen? Yeah.
Only those who don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Fantastic. I'm so excited to hear your story.
You know, I have, I was driven in part. The more obvious answer is I was driven by my children. So I have children. I have 3 children. The first one and the next 2 are 10 years apart, and so I get to do it again. So children don't come with a manual, right? But sometimes you get to practice for a while before you have the next one and the next one. So my eldest son went to school in a lovely community with a small school where parents were very involved, some feeling almost of a private school, but in reality, the content, the circumstances, the design of the school, the structure of delivery in terms of curriculum was the same as just any traditional school. Private, public, doesn't matter. But he just didn't thrive in that environment. And no matter how much I spoke to teachers, no matter how involved I was, you know, as classroom parent, I was PTO treasurer, PTO co-president, I did all those things. He just became felt increasingly demoralized, less than, unintelligent, uninspired, and ultimately angry. And here was this beautiful person, polite, precocious, smart, but somehow the way he learned and the way he communicated his understanding in this traditional setting was not working. So when I had the chance, the opportunity to think about education for the next 2, and they're 5 months apart, my children are adopted, so they're 5 months apart. I thought there has to be a better way. And I took a tour of all of the preschools in the surrounding towns, my own included. And I didn't really know what I was looking for, but I knew that I wanted to find a place where children were excited, engaged, and were, in a sense, a part of the team in learning. And I think that comes from my background as a young person of always kind of being a teacher. So whether it was dance lessons, or it was leading fitness classes, or it was developing a curriculum, a cross-curriculum package called Physical Best for phys ed educators around the country. I was always a teacher, and always at the core was what's best for children, what's working for children. I taught 5th, 6th, and 8th grade social studies.
Say that quick 3 times.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to teach, but I got to teach it, and I taught it in a very active and engaged way. You know, busiest, loudest classroom in the school. That didn't always make me popular, but for the children, it was very meaningful. So I went out looking, and I found this amazing school called The Child's Place in Lincroft, New Jersey. I always give them a shout out because they certainly deserve it. But the school only went to 1st grade. So I became very close to the director, and she shared a great deal of her research, her thinking, the books that inspired her. And I read these books, and I read a particular book called I Learn from Children by Caroline Pratt. Caroline Pratt was the founder of City and Country School in Manhattan. And she truly and respected children. And that's what I felt in this school. And that's what I wanted for my children. And every day they would come out of school excited to tell me all the wonderful things that they did and what they learned and how they might have done well with a friend or struggled with a friend or what their teacher said or what they said to their teacher. But there was this very lively conversation at the age of 3 and all the way through first grade. So I said to the director, grow the school. Let's grow the school. I'll help you grow the school. And she said, I'm thinking about retirement, Karen. I'm not looking to grow a school. So I said, okay, I'll start a school. And that's simply the way it went down. It was just, I'll start a school. And I never looked back. I never looked back.
And so did you jump on that school, or you started your brand new own school? Did you take that one over?
That's right. So I started my own school. So I decided that what you needed to start a school was a vision statement. I had done a lot of reading, as I said, so I needed a vision statement. So the first thing I did was I drew up this vision statement, which is still our vision statement to this day. If you go on our website, you'll find our vision statement. And then I thought, okay, so now I need some credentials. And my background at that time, I had a degree in political science and communications. I had graduate work in exercise physiology. And I thought, I'll get a master's in education. But where am I going to do that? Because the only reason I'm doing that is so that I can open a school. And a school needs a philosophical foundation as well. So I went to Goddard College up in Plainfield, Vermont. And I enrolled in their master's program in education with partnership. And I went in the first round, and it was a distance learning program. And you go up for 7 or 8 days, and then you work for about 14 weeks. You go back again. I went up and I proclaimed that I was there with one purpose, that when I left, I would write a thesis, and that thesis would be the philosophical foundation for the school. And if I couldn't do that, I wasn't going to spend my money there. I would just spend it opening the school. And so that's what I did. They at first thought I was a little, off my rocker. But
you can say crazy. It's okay.
I was lucky that I met the director of the program, who said to me, we can make this happen. Let's write it out. I remember she had a long legal size yellow pad, and let's write it all out. Let's figure it out. And went to my advisor and said, we can make this happen. And so I spent 18 months studying. I love to write, and I love to research. I wrote a massive volume of research around progressive education and education in general, in particular philosophical leaders and practitioners. And I traveled around the country. I went to lots of progressive schools, and I went to Italy, and I went to the Reggio Emilia schools, and had wonderful mentors along the way. And people, Taylor Gadd and Ron Miller and Alfie Cohen and Jerry Mintz, and just some really, really good thinkers in this field, and ultimately wrote the philosophical foundation for the school.
It's amazing, the vision that you had, right? It came to you, and that's fantastic to hear this vision and that you took action upon it. So, Karen, here you're running Voyager School now, and you have it.
Yeah.
Tell me some of the challenges. You must have had a million challenges getting this started.
Yep. So it's 16 years old now. I started it in 2004. And the first iteration of it was that, and I actually started a little bit earlier than I thought I would, because as it turned out, my children left that school, a Child's Place, and they went off to another school. And I was hopeful that they would settle in and things would go well for them. But in actuality, my daughter was not connecting around the philosophical foundation of that school. My son was doing okay, my daughter not so much. And so I had to take her out early. Now, I'm not really a proponent of homeschooling, because I think that children need other children, and they need the thoughts and ideas to vary greatly for them to figure out who they are. So here I was sitting at my kitchen island with my daughter, and we were homeschooling. And what am I doing? How did this happen? So I said, you know what? I'm going to start Voyagers early. So I started it as a learning center in the first year. On Mondays and Wednesdays, we went to this church, their community room and their kitchen, and out of my van came sewing machines and robotics and Legos and pots and pans and guidebooks to national parks around the country, whatever the children were interested in, I had in that van, and I would unload it. We'd do our day on Monday. We'd load it back into the van. If I was lucky, I didn't need the van for till Wednesday, and I'd unload the van out to the school, do it again, put it in the van, come home, unload it into the garage so that I could have use of my van till the next Monday. And we did this for a year, knowing that we would open full time the next year. One of the biggest issues I encountered up front, which I never anticipated, was the physical space. Because what I came to learn very quickly is in the municipalities here, a private school needs 10 to 15 acres. 10 to 15 acres is very expensive, very hard to find, because it also can't be in a residential area, it's particular areas. And so where to open was an issue. The only places that you could open is something that had already been a school, a church, or existed in the service of children, but not like in a strip mall or something like that. So I was using this church, and that was working, but then the church was fairly conservative, and they thought, we don't want these children here. Children cause trouble. It's going to go. We don't want them here. And so I had to move the school into my garage, and we had summer in my garage, and I couldn't find a place to be. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to have the school in my house. And we existed that way for a year under the guise of a learning center, because you couldn't have a school in your home. So there was that challenge. And we moved several times. We were lucky we have a Girl Scout property here at Camp Sacagawea in Howell, New Jersey. It's 43 acres. They had some open space. We were there for about 5 years. They're on 143 acres. And so the children would come in the morning. We love the outdoors, and outdoors was a tremendous component of our program. So the children would come in the morning, and we'd walk the path all the way through the camp and back to our space every day. And we'd spent a great deal of time outdoors. And then after that, we bought a building that had been a church and had been a preschool. And so we stayed there for a while, but it was only 3,000 square feet. And township wasn't really cooperating with me in terms of putting an addition on this building. And then I got lucky. And as you say, I'm in this historic building. It was the Fred Steelman School in Eatontown, New Jersey. It's 18,000 square feet. It's beautiful brick, just what you would imagine an old school to be. It had been boarded up for about 10 years.
Oh my goodness. We
renovated it I oversaw a renovation in 5.5 months. Everything from the street in is new. Everything, the pipes, the wires, everything. The only things that we saved, and we're proud of saving, is we saved all of the original wood floors. We saved all of the wood that we had to take down anywhere, and reuse that for furniture. So in fact, the table that my computer is on is this beautiful table with reclaimed wood from the building. There's a table that we can all sit at. And we kept the exposed brick. And we kept the big openings of the windows. Many of the architects that I talked to said, make the windows smaller, it'll be more efficient, and so on and so forth. But we truly believe that natural light and bringing the outside in a sense, is important. So we have 123 tremendous windows that bring in sunlight and see the rain and let us see, and it's fabulous. We have no ceilings, we have open rafters, so the children can see all the wiring coming in, all the plumbing, and it's real. They get, how does that electricity get to that switch? They can see all the wiring. We flush a toilet and we can hear the water. And so the building itself is a teacher. So, wow. Yeah, pretty fascinating.
It's amazing to hear you describe the detail and, again, the vision to have this for your students. So how, now, recruiting teachers and advertising for students, right? We met Clayton before the show here. Yeah. He's one of your marketing people, but how do you get the word out? I mean, you're doing a podcast today.
Right.
Tell me about recruiting students and teachers.
Yeah. So in the early years, that was a challenge, particularly to recruit, either way, but to recruit teachers was a bit of a challenge, because the fear was, you're new. How do I know I'm going to have a job in a year or 3 years? So that was a bit of a challenge. We're fortunate in New Jersey not to have certified teachers in our classrooms, which frankly works to our favor, because we don't teach in traditional ways. And so We don't want to undo necessarily what's been taught to teachers, but we began advertising. The first employee was my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law is amazing wood craftsman. He's a leader in technology. He was going around the country and he was training people in the corporate world. And he decided that he wanted to stay home and he wanted to be with his son. And he has a wonderful mathematical mind, scientific thinking. And I said to him, why don't you come work for me? And so he came and he worked for me, originally part-time and then eventually full-time. He still works here today. So that was our first teacher. And then we had a young woman who had been trained as a theater arts major, but was a real thinker, just a deep thinking. And that's what's important, right? So we're looking for people who are deep thinkers, who take joy in being with children and see them to some degree as equals in the fact that, a child can teach you, you can teach a child. And a child has much to say. They may not say it with the finesse that you would like them to say it with, but they have much to say. And if you can embrace those things, then in the early years, that was a good candidate for teaching. All the things about philosophy and approach and so on and so forth could be trained, could provide in-depth professional development and in examples. At that time, I was very much a teacher as well. So that's how we started out. And students that we recruited, it was a word of mouth. It was a word of mouth. First year there was 7, the next year there was 17. The year after that, I think there was around 30. Maybe we went to 36. We had a little bit of a hiccup in that period from 36 to 50. And before we knew it, we were at 63. And we've been as many as 88 students.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, we would like to be at 130. That's our sweet spot, and that's what we're shooting for, 130 students.
And you and I talked a little bit when we first met about, your alumni that are graduating, right? Are they a resource for you in terms of recruiting as well as opportunities for your current students?
In 2 ways, but I think in general, word of mouth is so word of mouth is very important. And in the early years, word of mouth was it, right? And then we became more savvy as to our website, as to our marketing and branding. And now we're very involved, as you say, in podcasts and social media. I write a great deal. I have a blog. I write articles. I will make appearances. So now marketing is quite different. But yes, the fact of the matter is that our alumni are important because our alumni, first of all, give us, the credibility to some degree. We have 100% acceptance in colleges around the country, 4-year colleges. The likes of University of Delaware, Rutgers University, Oberlin, Pratt Institute, Embry-Riddle. I mean, I can go on and on and on. We have banners hanging all over our high school showing all the schools that the children have been accepted into. And proudly, 100% offers of academic scholarship.
Wow.
We have one student applied to 8 colleges. She's been accepted to 7 of the 8. We're waiting on the last one, but I think she's made her first choice and probably will go to Hawaii Pacific. So that's a big deal. We have 2 students have been accepted at Full Sail University down in Florida. Very, very excited about that. One is an illustrator and an animator, and the other is very involved in music. And in all cases, and there's various and sundry other colleges, but in all cases, they've received these tremendous scholarships, academic scholarships. And so for a lot of people, that's where they see the validity, right? And what the alumni do thereafter is important. But the other piece that I think is very important is that we believe very much in mentorship. We believe that the world around us teaches us. And so we have our students very engaged in the outside world, looking for mentors for their ideas, for their projects, for the things that they're studying. Our children are amazing communicators. They articulate their ideas very effectively because they speak to adults every day here at school. And we speak to them as if they're adults. And so when we take our children out into the world, we almost inevitably get a note back saying, oh my gosh, your children are so impressive. They're such thinkers, or they're such good communicators, or they really seem to care. We get those sorts of reactions. That's the best advertisement ever. That's the best marketing tool, is to take your children out into the world and let people interact with them.
Yeah. And Karen, with the size and what you're explaining, I think they take their cue from their director here, but these kids that are into the music or the kids that are into the drawing, can they have the opportunity to focus more on that because of maybe some of the freedoms that they have in the school?
Yeah. So we are very invested in the whole child. We're very invested in enabling them to explore the ideas and the skills that they would like to explore, and in some cases really hone in on. So music, theater, STEAM. So a lot of people call it STEM. We call it STEAM because we feel like art is very much a part of technology. These are all important pieces. So our children writing, we have lots of writers, and then we have children who write well and illustrate. So we'll teach them animation. They really have time to dig into these sorts of studies and to communicate their learning through these different skills. So, for instance, we were talking about the coronavirus, right? So we are very adamant that we're going to stay open, but goodness knows if we have to close, then what are we going to do? And it was a wonderful conversation today about, okay, we could set up this sort of online communication, right? And we could give kids almost like a passport with all the things that they have to accomplish in terms of developing knowledge, but we could allow them to show us their knowledge through whatever. So right now in our high school, we're studying, we're just moving into Jim Crow. We did everything from the Constitution all the way through Reconstruction. We're moving into Jim Crow, and they'll be assigned some reading and studies. One child may submit drawings, one child may animate, one child may make a movie, one child may make a podcast, one child may write a 7-page paper. They're going to communicate what they understand in ways that are meaningful to them. And that's why not? Why not? Why not? Why are we saying no to those sorts of things?
I bet you say that a lot where you work. Why not, right? Or how can we, right?
Anything is possible. So everything that comes, it is so rare to hear the word no here. What you hear here is anything is possible. Why do you want to do that? Tell me why, why bother is a question that we ask. Why bother doing that? Okay, that's important to you. What does it look like? What are your questions around it? How are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? What mentorship do you need? Do you need money? Do you need supplies? Do you need a space? Do you need, how much time do you need? I mean, we ask our children constantly to write proposals. So, probably the biggest drag for some kids is they come to this idea. I have an idea. I want to make a remote control car, and I want to put a plow on the front, and I want to be able to run it from my couch and plow the walkway. Great. Okay. Why? What made you think of that? Where did that come from? How are you going to do it? What's it going to cost? We go through all that. Write a proposal and let us know. And we'll look at it as a team. Sometimes it's the upper team, the lower team, or the whole staff. We'll look at it and we'll see if we can make it happen. And we are truly looking at it with the concept of let's make it happen. This is an amazing idea. Or even frankly, this is not such a good idea, but there's something to be learned in every idea. Yeah. And so let's make it happen. Let's say yes.
By doing that proposal, going through the process, the kid might realize this isn't something that I want to do.
Yeah. Sometimes the proposal, they start to really analyze it. But even then, when a child kind of gets stuck or stumbles, it's not, we're not readily saying, okay, so bad idea. Instead, we're saying, why are you stuck? Where are you stuck? How can we help you? So there's another theory. Our teachers are called teacher researchers. And so they're constantly listening and collecting data. So that data, that child being stuck, I want to really understand why. And I want to see if I can't get the child over the hurdle, or if in fact they've moved on. Sometimes they've moved on just as we do. But a lot of times they've seen a hurdle and they can't figure out how to get around it, over it. And then it's our job to really show them through provocation, right? So it isn't to give them the answers, it's to ask them the right questions so they continue to think and think and think and think.
Well, Karen, kudos to you and your team. The Voyagers School, community school sounds like an amazing place. We'll definitely want to get some pictures out when we put this podcast out. We're going to run out of time here, but I do want to get to rapid fire. I thank you so much for sharing your story. And really, it's inspiring to hear that you had this vision and you did it. And here, 16 years later, you're telling me that there's 123 windows in the building. You know every nook and cranny. And graduates, it's inspiring. Yeah. Kudos to you and your team there.
Thank you.
And I know we want to get to your the fundraiser too, but how about the last book you read?
Underground Railroad, Colson Whitehead. Great book. I recommend it to everyone.
Last movie you saw?
Jojo Rabbit.
favorite place to travel?
British Virgin Islands if I want to go to the beach, and Italy or Greece if I want
to. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're getting into podcasting. Obviously, other than Education, Leadership, and Beyond, what's a podcast you subscribe to?
Well, that's interesting because I listen to so many of them. I'm constantly listening to podcasts. I listen to the more common ones, Fresh Air and Radio Lab and so on and so forth. But we just started an innovation and education podcast. And so I'm going to give a shout out to that one.
Cool. You hook me up with one of your students there and I'll have them on here and I'd be happy to come on with them.
Great. Terrific. Cool. Yeah.
Something that motivates you.
Every day, this is a mission. Voyagers is a mission. So for me, Voyagers is a proof of concept. And now what really pushes me is to disrupt education. We've had 130 years of traditional education. Despite all of the revolutions that we've had, agricultural, industrial, technological, we have not had an education revolution, and it's time for one. Anything that helps to move me in that direction, I'm goal-oriented for that. That's it. That's what keeps me going every day, aside from these beautiful children.
Well, they're part of that disruption, and you got my attention today, I'll tell you that. What's a pet peeve of yours?
People who put themselves down. People who put themselves down. There's this limiting belief that we have these limiting beliefs, and I'm constantly saying, don't start your idea with, well, I don't think this is a very good idea, but it drives me crazy. Every idea is a good idea. Everything you say has value and worth. Everything you say makes me and everyone else think. And that's what this is all about. We need to be thinking, breathing people. So don't put yourself down.
I believe we all have a book in us. What is the title of your book?
Oh, that was a tough question. I think it's something about the magic in education is in the children.
Yeah. You got to get the word voyage in there, though.
Right.
I love the name, and I think the vision and the whole story was great. How about a short-term goal, 3 to 5 months? It can be personal or professional.
Yeah. So 3 to 5 months. To be very, very short term. You mentioned our fundraiser, and we'll circle back to that, but we have a goal to raise $130,000. And so that's my very short goal. My slightly longer goal is to really hit the ground running and have a say and have a voice in moving education, changing, shifting, disrupting education. I hope that I'm on a speaking circuit. I hope that I'm and whether that's a table with 4 people or that's a room with 4,000 people, I'm ready to go.
Well, and our friend Rich Allen, runs Disrupt Ed TV and certainly connected us.
Yeah.
And I hope we can help get that voice out. If you are a big time donor and you are listening to the podcast, certainly reach out to Karen and her school, the Voyagers Community School, because you are doing it and you're not just saying it, Karen. You are doing it. So kudos to you. How can that big, rich donor reach out to you? What's the best way for them to get in touch?
A couple of things. We have, as I mentioned, we have a fundraiser coming up March 19th called Mission 130. It's at the Battleground Country Club in Manalapan, New Jersey. Starts at 5:00. We're very fortunate to have a significant keynote speaker. So Sean Callaghy is the founder of Unblinded Mastery Formula. He is also an attorney who has won 2 of the top 10 cases in the United States. Very accomplished philanthropist, business owner, so on and so forth. And he's coming to this fundraiser to speak from 5 to 6 o'clock and to help people who want to get to an affirmation, how to get from hello to yes. And that doesn't just mean in sales, it means in anything. For instance, my mission, how do I get from hello to yes to get that stage to convince people to join me in disrupting education? So very, very valuable. But thereafter, 6:30, we will have cocktails, we will have appetizers, we'll have live music, we'll have some gifts to auction and amazing memorabilia, Elton John tickets and sports memorabilia, so on and so forth. But we're also going to do a paddle raise, and we're going to try and raise $130,000. And then the lights will go up, and we'll dance the rest of the night away. So that's one way. And if somebody's interested in joining us, to do that, to buy a ticket is vygrs.org/mission130. Mission has to be spelled in all caps. So vygrs.org/mission130. If you want to make a donation and you can't join us that night, you can go to our website, Voyagers, with an S, voyagerscommunityschool.org, and you can explore. It's a wonderful website. We're so fortunate to have a wonderful web development company, Interactive Schools, out of England. They've done a fine job, and we keep up with it. But it's chock full. You can go there. You can hopefully find some inspiration, whether you're a parent or somebody who wants to start a school, and that's what I hope will happen, or you want to enroll your student in our school. There is a giving and donations link there, and you can certainly give. We are very unique in that we have indexed tuition, so it's not a fixed tuition. So tuition is based on income, assets, and liabilities, so it matches what a family can afford. Wow. And in order to do that, we have to raise funds. We have to raise funds because we probably collect around 70% of 100% tuition. We have to make up that other 30%. And so we do depend greatly. We're a 501c3. It is a tax write-off. We do depend greatly on donations.
And Karen, that was March 19th, did you say?
Yes, March 19th.
That's coming up. That's right here.
Oh, I know. What is it? 10 days away? 9 days away? 9 days away. 9 days away.
Let's help get that word out. And again, to any of our listeners, I'm certainly going to send you a little something. And I think it's great. You're a great spokesperson for education, and certainly your mission and vision with Voyagers Community School. So I wish you the best. Karen, do you have a favorite quote? Is there something that you look up that you know is your go-to?
Oh, my goodness. Caught me on that one. There's so many delightful quotes. I don't know that I do.
Well, let's do this. You think about it. When I tweet the show at you at Voyagers NJ, you put it back out. But this is Karen Giuffre. Karen, you did an amazing job. You really inspired me. And again, I hope you inspired our listeners. Guys, if you are listening, please reach out for that your donation here and your fundraiser. You are disrupting education, Karen, and you should be proud of the work you're doing. And I hope Education Leadership and Beyond listeners can support you. I am at Andrew Murata 21 on Twitter. Karen's at Voyage. Say it. Where is it?
Voyagers NJ.
Voyagers NJ. And Karen, if they wanted to reach out to you directly, they can get the information on the website at your school. Is that right?
They can email me at director@voyagerscommunityschool.org. Love to hear from anybody who wants to learn more about this.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I will get this music queued up eventually. That we'll have our exit out music. Okay. And we went a little over our 30 minutes time, but it was a great story. And kudos to you and your family and your leaders at your school. Thank you, Karen, for coming on.
An honor. Thank you so much for asking me to be on. I appreciate it.
All right. We're signing off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. Continue to go out and do great things in your schools and community, and certainly continue to disrupt education like our friend Karen Giuffre. Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You stay on the line a second so we can say goodbye. Here we go.